Stoicism. Stoicism is an ancient Greek philosophy written and practiced by people who played different roles in their societies: slaves, politicians, businessmen, warriors, emperors, and artists. No, Stoicism isn't about feeling or doing nothing about everything and anything. It is a simple, beneficial, and telling philosophy that one can meditate on daily. It is practical and needs less or no deciphering. It is like writing notes to self, then meditating on them daily, so to have devotion to them in practice. A simple and telling example is this quote: "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This is Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius in his notes called To Self. They were reminder notes on how he should conduct himself and not let his position poison his ego or fragility. Stoicism is a reminder to practice virtue, as virtue can't be lived in words alone but with action. It is a reminder to try at all times to be our best and not be affected by events in his life adversely. The good and the bad occur at all times and will keep happening. We can become lost if we go with the hype of good and bad every time. Therefore, we ought to meditate on managing our reactions, as this is what hurts us most of the time. So no, Stoicism is not about being emotionless all the time. Stoicism background. Stoicism was founded by the philosopher Zeno of Citium in 3rd century BC. It was first named Zenonism, but was soon changed to Stoicism. The name Stoicism derives from stoa poikile, ancient Greek for painted porch. It is literally renamed after a type of porch where Zeno and his followers gathered to discuss Zenonism ideas. As such, it is sometimes referred to as philosophy of the porch. It later flourished in the era of the Roman Empire. It was also an important philosophy in the Renaissance era. The Stoics believed in reasoning from logic and morals. Stoicism, like other ancient philosophies or even many religions, come from an era where logic, morals, and science had not evolved like today, thousands of years later, of course. Logically, there wasn't arithmetic or calculus math then. Morally, slavery was accepted. Scientifically, bacteria killed. You can imagine a Stoic's push for better logic and morals was a struggle than today. You were born into whatever status you born into: slavery, royalty, peasantry, etc. It was difficult than today to move out of that structure, perhaps even harder without violence. So, you had to contend with your position if you were unfortunate or privileged. I see Stoicism as a philosophy that helped people to contend with their positions, and at the same time they tried to improve for their self's sake, even if by little. Think of the slave Epictetus saying man is not worried about real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties about real problems. Later, when he is freed, he starts a school of philosophy and teaches men how to be virtuous. Think of Nelson Mandela, studying and intellectually also preparing for victory against apartheid while imprisoned for life. Then, when he was freed, he called for an inclusive and democratic nation. This is after 27 years in prison. As I walked out of the door toward the gate that would lead to my freedom, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I'd still be in prison. Close quote. Nelson Mandela. These two people suffered and later became free men. Imagine if they succumbed to victim mindsets, and to which they were victims. While enslaved, they managed to envision a world of freedom for others even. Imagine if you were sick in the ancient days when there was no cure for your sickness, like there are cures and antidotes for most sicknesses today. How would you contend with such a position? Maybe your religion would help. Maybe Stoicism to Stoics was sufficed. Maybe a combination of the two would help. This is why you are here. You are seeking further perspective on how to cope and thrive in the world of fortunes and misfortunes. Think of an emperor who inherited an empire. The empire was gained and defended through war and conquering. He too had to defend his kingdom with violence and war readiness. He could surrender his kingdom to absolute freedom for all. However, his enemies would kill him and capture it for their envisioned empire. His enemies are external and internal. Any sign of weakness, he's dead. His humility would have to be measured. Even his citizens would eat each other up if left to their own devices. He had to enforce law and order with a probable threat of violence. His humility had to operate within such hostile constraints. However, I infer that it is how to push humility and virtues further for a better tomorrow for all. Let's say a Stoic emperor ruled imperially, but extended humility in laws. The next emperor did the same, so the standard of humility evolved into the better for the next generations. We have it better today because of that. Nelson Mandela and Epictetus did this while they were enslaved. They prepared a better tomorrow while they were not free. All of these people pushed the pedestal. Imperial times had no democratic governments like today. Even today, not all governments are democratic. Even democratic nations want to conquer other nations. Nations that govern with humility also have to maintain military strength and harness allies, or else the sovereignty will be conquered by others. Do you have individual sovereignty of emotions? Are your emotions blackmailing? Do you have individual sovereignty of your emotions? Are your emotions blackmailed into anger easily? Is that not distraction and susceptibility to being conquered? Are you able to rule over your emotions with discipline to do what is necessary or to not do what is not necessary? This is where Stoicism comes in, or at least tries, like you try. It is for you, the individual. You are not condemning society. You are imposing sanctions of humility upon yourself, harnessing a mindset that won't torment you, or at least torment you to ruin. Hopefully, the mindset will rescue you before you drop beyond a break-even point. Think of yourself waking up every morning with whatever misfortunes and fortunes and saying, I should not be entitled. I should be grateful for XYZ. I should ignore those who wrong me so to enjoy today and be productive. I will put my problems in their compartments and apportion their attendance accordingly. This is so that I'm effective today. Do you think that would work for you today? I think so too.